Greetings and welcome to another episode of Super Speak Sundays with your host, James the Orator. As you know, we do nothing but highlight ordinary people who are now doing extraordinary things in the community. And today, we have a guest who I've been waiting to get on for some time. But before we bring the guest on, let me just say this to my listening audience and to my followers. We really want to thank you for your contributions, the calls, the text messages. You guys have been tremendous. We really need you to go and continue to subscribe to the YouTube channel, share the videos. We need your comments. We need your feedback. If there are things that you would like to see or information that you would like to get more information, we want to be able to provide that. And so again, thank you again. We are humbled by the prayers and the experiences that we've had so far. Let's get into it. Our guest today is Mr. James W. Officer III. Now, you know, this is important because you know what? My name is James W. Dix III. So we have the James and the W and the third, but just a different last name. So this brother has been, he's just an inspiration. He's definitely one of my people that I watch from afar. He doesn't know it, but he's someone who makes things happen. I've sat back and watched how he's created things and been I've never seen this brother with a frown on his face. He's always inspirational and always uplifting other people. Let me give you some information about Mr. Officer. James Officer has 25 years experience in coaching others to maximize their opportunities. He received his bachelor's degree in aeronautic technology and his master's of public administration from Indiana State University. James has led teams in the financial services and proprietary education industries. As an experienced speaker and trainer, James has facilitated over 300 seminars and was a speaker on the TEDx stage in May 2017. James also published his first book in 2017 entitled Keep Calm and Grow Rich, a guide to choosing your destiny. In 2020, James published his second book, Forgive and Grow Rich. There will be no apology. In 2014, James founded Dash Masters, a professional development company that provides clients the tools and insights to grow through every season of their lives. In 2018, James accepted the role of Chief Operating Officer for a small healthcare company, where he exercises his 25 years of experience to build strong culture and sustainability. Strategic operating systems. Sustainable strategic operating systems. Man, I'm getting too excited. I'm reading faster than my mind is going. My mind going faster than something. You know what I'm talking about. He became the CEO of that same company in January 2022. As you can see, this brother is on the move. He's doing some fantastic things, has books. We're going to welcome him to the show. Mr. James Officer, welcome to the show. Welcome to the show.
What's going on, bro? How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you for joining us here on Super Speak Sundays. You know, it's an honor and a pleasure to have you on the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm humbled, and man, listening to your enthusiasm with reading the little bio, man. Thank you for that. Thank you.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. James, customarily, what we do is when we bring our guest on the show, we always start with a quote. And so we'll post that quote and then we'll ask you to just give us some reflections on the quote.
Sure, please.
So the quote is, a highly developed value system is like a compass. It serves as a guide to point you in the right direction when you are lost. And that's by Adowu Koyenikan. What are your thoughts?
Wow, that's powerful. First of all, and when as I was reading that, the term compass, bro, made me think of GPS.
That's right.
And the power of GPS is that once I've loaded that into my phone or car or what have you, Then I take off on the journey.
Mhm.
And at that point, I need to no longer be concerned with direction rather than paying attention to
Right.
the direction that's being given to me. So I love this quote because it makes me think that a developed value system
Sure.
allows you to just enjoy the journey, right? You already know where you're going, and you already are aware and happy with the decisions that you're making to get there. If you have a well-developed um, value system, and having that compass or GPS locked and
Yes.
loaded, you don't have to be consumed with the destination. You have the opportunity to focus on the journey. Now I'm off the dome with this, so
Oh no, no, go right
but
ahead.
you can truly focus on the journey when you have your values locked and loaded. So often, I'll say this last thing. So often, we are so outcome focused. We're so
Right.
focused on the outcome, and we are very seldom focused on the process. But it's the process where we are developed, where our life is made rich, and where our experiences are whole. So uh, that's off the dome, Q. I just wanted to
Oh
throw
no,
that 10
that's
cent on it.
no, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. You know, we noticed that you have been an author two times. I think that's fantastic. You know, where did the gift of expression, using your writing gift and your speaking gift. I mean, each time you talk, and I've been around you enough times when James Officer talks, your name even sounds strong, James Officer. You know, an officer. So when you reflect back on those gifts that you were given, where did that stem from?
Wow, it's a great question. I do recognize it as a gift, and um, I'll say this: that my father was a writer, a poet, though,
Hmm.
and so I've been around the spoken word most of my life. So that certainly has. I would be remiss to not give credence to my father's influence in my life.
Sure.
Um, but I was one of those people who wanted to write a book for probably 15 years before I finally wrote a book. And I think that was the most difficult part. Having the dream was easy, communicating the dream was easy, executing the dream took a decision and a commitment. And wow, I did it the first time, and it was a little kind of difficult. Obviously, the second time a lot easier, and the third book that I'm working on now is flowing out just very easily. And I'll say this one more thing about it. I think I was able to reach that stage of execution because my motivation changed.
Right.
It was always about I want to sell books, or I want to be known, or I want, I had all these superficial desires, but none of
Right.
them clearly motivated me because 15 years I was running my mouth about it and
Right.
didn't do it. What really clicked for me is my children were getting older. By
Hmm.
2017, two of my children had already left, had already gotten through college. A third
Sure.
one was in
Sure.
college,
Sure.
and then my baby was in high school. And I thought, you know what? One day I want my children to hear my words eventually. They can't
Right.
hear me right now.
Right.
But one day I want them to hear my words. And the other thing is, I want to be here forever. And so I knew a book would do both of those things. It would help me achieve immortality,
Right.
period. It just
Absolutely.
does. I read
Yeah.
books today that are 200 years old. And also my children would eventually hear my voice. And those two things were enough motivation to get the books out.
Wow. Wow. That's, I think that gives a lot of people some juice to say, let me get started on that book. Because we do have to realize that we will leave this earth one day. And when we leave, we have to think about, what do we leave? I mean, what is our legacy? What do we leave?
Absolutely.
I mean, people will definitely remember how you made them feel, but what about those external things that they can have, those tangibles that they can have that can be life changing and transcend many different generations.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think what the the biggest thing in that is that all those other things never motivated me to do it, right? I've concluded, I don't know, but I've concluded personally that the superficial things aren't truly motivators. Those extrinsic things, right?
Right.
Money and notoriety, yeah, they work, but if it is not accompanied by the right intrinsic motivators, you're not gonna get things done.
Wow, wow. Let's go back to your, because I really want to hear what your history in terms of how you grew up and then how you got to this point where you decided to write the book. So take us back to your childhood, where you grew up.
Yeah.
Who were some of the mentors or influencers in your life?
Yeah, man. So born and raised in Indianapolis, Indiana, on the east side. In fact, uh, my formative years were spent in, I think it's still called Blackburn Terrace.
Okay.
It's projects on 30th and Baltimore area.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so funny because, well, first I was born to teenage parents.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's never any shade to what my parents did or didn't do because they were babies themselves. Now I had to
Right.
become a parent to accept that, but no shade. So my parents were divorced really early. My mother primarily raised me. My father was there. Again,
Mm-hmm.
I won't throw shade to either of my parents
Right.
because my mama was 15, 16. My dad was 18. So
Right.
I'll leave that at that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we lived with, now get this, my grandmother, two other aunts, four other kids, and my sister and I. You do the math on that in a two-bedroom
Yeah.
apartment in the
Yeah.
projects. Man, so it's lots
Yeah.
and lots of stories, but more than that, we talk about developing a strength of character and a constitution to, first of all, love hard, care for those who care for you,
Mm-hmm.
how to share, man, how to
Right.
give. Those things you learn when it's a piece of cornbread left and four people haven't had any.
Right.
So you
Oh
learn
yeah.
how to share. And so, I went to Arlington High School. Well,
Mm-hmm.
actually started at John Marshall High School.
Okay.
My sophomore year, which was what, 86,
Mm-hmm.
John Marshall was converted to a middle school. And that
Wow.
was tough, man, because, we all had our, football careers established. I led it as a sophomore and then had to
Mm-hmm.
go to Arlington and start all over. And that was tough.
Yeah.
It was tough sledding, plus a whole new crowd. And Arlington and Marshall were rival schools. So that was dramatic. Just, a lot of those things really impacted me. And I have
Sure.
to reflect on it to realize it. But what was so stable and what has been stable in my whole life has been the presence of these great giants whose shoulders I stand on.
Sure.
My grandfather, James Sr., right?
Okay.
There's something powerful in the name. And based on your introduction, I know you know that.
Yes.
For me to be the third always meant something to me, man. And
Mm-hmm.
my grandfather was my absolute hero. The man taught me how to fish,
Yeah.
how to turn a screwdriver, man, how to shine shoes. Like
Yeah.
those things don't mean much in 2022, but they meant something in 1979. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
and they still mean something. I mean, I'm being facetious when I say that. So that man, and then my grandmother, my paternal grandmother, and
Mm-hmm.
then my maternal grandmother, man, just so blessed that I had grandparents, man, who were pillars, who were hard workers, did not have a high school diploma between them,
Mm-hmm.
but were brilliant people who loved hard. And those were big families. My father's parents had 10 children. My
Mm-hmm.
mother's parents had 9.
Wow.
So think about that, man. That's 18 uncles
Yeah.
and aunts that I
Oh yeah.
have. And all of them have, 15,000 kids. So
Oh yeah.
huge and I'm preaching to the choir, but I know I am, bro. But huge family, and that is what has anchored me. It is what has humbled me. I mean, I'm
Yes.
telling you, they don't care about how many degrees I have. They
Mm-hmm.
don't care what I drive, where I live. When I come around, I'm just Jimmy, and
That's it.
might get thumped in the back of the head. You know what I
Oh yeah.
mean?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. To keep you honest. To keep you honest.
Might
Yeah.
get
That
thumped. So that's it, man. I mean, I feel like I'm
That's
rambling a
great.
bit,
No, no,
but
no, no. Now you're doing just fine because again, I'm sure that our listening audience, some of our listeners probably have had the same experience, and
right.
and that's the reason why we put this platform together. We want people to identify, with our guests who have, I'm not gonna say you came out of the mud, but I mean, it sounds like from what you just said, you grew up in a very humbling situation. I'm not gonna call it
Hey,
difficult.
the
It's a very
project, bro. Call it what it
yeah,
is.
yeah. And
Yeah.
so having that, and so talk about your experience growing up in the projects where I'm sure at this point in your life you can probably reflect on a number of people who did not make it out of their situation. Maybe they have been addicted to some type of controlled substance. Maybe they are not here anymore. What was your saving grace to help you to transition to writing these books that we're going to be talking about here shortly?
If I put it in a word, accountability.
Okay.
There were, and even that's before I knew what accountability meant, right? Before I could spell accountability.
Yeah.
I had, like I said, my grandmother holding me accountable. Remember, I lived with my mother and two aunts. So
Hmm.
if one was at work, and it was always somebody at work, then I had those two hold me accountable. But let's take it further. If I went down the street 3 or 4 doors, Miss Ann was going to hold me accountable. And if I went down the street the other way, Miss Brenda was going to hold me accountable. There were people who were holding me accountable. Now, listen, they were saying stuff to other people who wouldn't listen too.
Hmm.
So I can't speak to why I responded. And then don't get it twisted. I did my share of messing up. I
Oh, I'm
mean,
sure. Yeah, yeah. We all have.
I didn't get caught, thank God. And
Right.
whatever I tried didn't take me over the edge, thank God. So I'm not
Right.
trying to present some
Right.
pristine view because it ain't that at all.
Right.
But there's always been that opportunity for me to make a decision. And I don't say that self-righteously, but I say it, I say it like this. Every time we find ourselves in a pickle, we had a chance to make a decision not to be in that pickle.
That's it. That's it.
And so at a certain point, I would say in my preteen years, I started thinking about that I can go this way, I can go that way. And when I go this way, it ends up I find myself in trouble. When I go this way, I find myself not in trouble. And I saw what was happening to guys my age who were getting in trouble, even at
Hmm.
12 and 13.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, I don't want to spend my time in juvenile. I don't want to
Hmm.
do that. I don't want to have my people looking at me cross. I don't want to
Right.
put this stress on my mama, my grandma, and them. I don't want to do that.
Right.
And I think it was that. The what got on my nerves so bad was them always Jimmy,
That's right.
give
That's
me
right.
it. Got
That's
on my
right.
damn nerve, Q. But it's then that voice became my voice, if that
Right.
makes sense.
Oh yeah.
Their voice
Oh
became
yeah.
my voice.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. So now you graduate from high school and then you transition to. Did you go to Indiana State right out of high school?
Right out of high school.
Okay, right out of high school. So you go to Indiana State. You get this degree in aeronautical technology. Is that right?
Yes.
And then all of a sudden you step on the scene as a public speaker. Tell us about that.
Well, something really amazing happened and it changed my life. I never worked a day in aeronautics,
Okay. All
not
right.
1 hour.
Okay.
I went into grad school in the fall of '93, and yeah, fall of '93. And at that time, there was a grad assistantship that opened up in the African American Studies department.
Hmm.
Now, I had taken a few courses as an undergrad and it bust my head wide open. Right, there
Right.
were to that point, I knew that we were slaves and that apparently that's what came here to be.
Right.
And then Frederick Douglass and Dr. King. Right,
That's it. That's
that
it.
was the extent of
That's it.
my knowledge of myself. And all of a sudden, this 18-year-old college student gets his head laid wide open and this understanding of himself. Well, fast forward, I'm a grad student now, and I get this chance to do a assistantship. And then after I finished school, they actually gave me a classroom, and I got to teach Introduction to African American Studies. And I did that for 4 semesters,
Wow.
and it changed my life.
Okay.
Just the not just the information, because now when you're teaching it, you learn it on another level.
Right. Exactly.
I know you get that.
Oh yeah.
And then the interaction. And here I am, what, 25? My students are 20, 21. So I'm not that much older than them.
Yeah. Oh
And
yeah.
uh so teaching that made me realize that I had something to give away in front of a room. I realized, man, I enjoy this. And the response I got from the students, being so close to them in age, and
Yeah.
they were still responding to me like
That's right.
I actually knew something. I knew then I had something, man, going on, and I have never stopped pursuing that. I mean, I've worked all kind of jobs, but I never stopped finding opportunities to get in front of people and talk, whether it's one person or 1,000 people, or the largest group I've ever been in front of is 12,000. And what's so crazy, bro, is that if I could tell you how many times I did it for free, I,
Yes.
I I, I can't tell
I
you,
know.
man, how many times I did it for free, and when I start getting paid, it didn't change how I feel about it.
Right.
You know,
Exactly. Exactly.
and
I know. I know the feeling.
yeah,
My journey has been public speaking as well, and it's something that I truly love. You know, we know that there are a number of people who hate to public speak.
right.
I thrive off public speaking. I love to be in front of people and share the wisdom and knowledge and being able to connect on the energy in the room, so people will be able to receive the message that we're delivering. So not only did you teach classes, but then you transition and you get an opportunity to do a TEDx, which is huge. Talk about that.
Man, sometimes it's better to be lucky than good, right?
All right.
So one of the careers I was in, I was, like I said, mentioned proprietary education, and
Mhm.
I led a team of, basically we'll call them corporate liaisons, with the Apollo Group. And one of the people who that I supervised
Uh-huh.
got connected with the TED group, and it is simply that she had been kind of following me on online and
Mm-hmm.
paying attention to some of the things I was doing and saying. And literally, she reaches out to me and she says, "We have a recording in 7 days.
Wow. Wow.
Someone canceled. Can you do it?"
Wow.
Before I could even become afraid about it, I said yes. Um, I knew if I thought 30 more seconds, I would have given myself a reason why
Oh yeah.
7 days is too short. And well, are you kidding? This is the opportunity of a lifetime. And you giving me a week, and
Exactly. Exactly.
man, none of that came out. What came out was yes,
Mm-hmm.
and I showed, and I did it, man. So, and that's done very well. It's opened so many doors for other opportunities, to sell books, things I never really was focused on.
Sure.
It just opened those doors, and I say that to you and to your listeners, that it all started with my yes, full of fear, full of trepidation. Can I do it?
Yes.
Why now? Why is it happening like this? Full of all of that, I said yes, and the doors it's open, including the seat I'm sitting in now, all started with that yes. To be frank,
Wow, that's huge. That's huge. Sometimes I think Eminem said that, and I'm paraphrasing. He says that, we only get one opportunity, and sometimes it's a life opportunity of a lifetime. What are we
yes,
gonna do with it?
yes,
And it sounds like, and of course, it doesn't sound like you are doing and capitalizing off that experience that you had with that TEDx. Let's transition to your books. I wanna really showcase your books. This may block your screen, but we can still talk here. Your first book was entitled "Keep Calm and Grow Rich: A Guide to Choosing Your Destiny." Without giving away all the jewels in this book, because I know it's filled with jewels, give our listening audience just a very high level overview of what they're gonna I guess receive when they read this piece.
yeah. Well, thank you for doing this very much, man. I appreciate it. The title kind of says a lot. Not to keep calm and grow rich. First of all, I just leveraged what was super popular in 2017. Every time you scroll through social media, you saw keep calm and something,
Uh-huh.
and I realized that wasn't trademarked, and I just jumped on it. And
Right.
so that was part of just to catch people's attention. Um, but the whole notion of choosing your destiny, I think so often we feel that our lives are set on some course, and that there's no opportunity to alter that, or that you are, you know, doomed, or not even doomed, but confined to the choices previous generations have made. So my
Right.
mother was this, her mother was that, so I'm gonna be that. And the truth is that our destiny truly is defined by our choices,
Sure.
uh, and your choices are informed by your emotions, and your emotions are
Wow.
informed by your ability to remain calm, right?
Mm.
I will bet anybody, dimes to donuts, that you have never in your life made a good decision when you were in a negative emotional space.
Hey, move over just a little bit so we can see your face the
Oh,
other way, so we can see
sorry.
your face. There you go. Good, good, good. Okay,
Yeah,
so
you've never, no one. I would bet again, my next paycheck, my next four paychecks, that you have not made a good decision when you're in a negative emotional state. So
Mm,
understanding the importance of being able to recognize first what emotions you're dealing with and then regulate them as you're making decisions, because those decisions inform the direction that your life goes. So that's a snapshot of that book. And
okay.
so what
Now,
I would say is, go ahead.
no, I was going to ask in the book, are there any activities, anything that the reader can engage in to kind of supplement the reading piece?
Absolutely. So I talk a lot about um, visioning, uh, um, also the power of affirmations,
Okay.
right? Some many of your listeners will be old enough to remember the cassette tape.
Hmm.
And if you didn't like what was on your cassette tape, you could put it in the player. You could press play and record and put
Right.
something completely different on that tape. Well, our subconscious is the same way. It is pre-wired for sure. We are not, it's not our fault. The beliefs that we're wired with, those come from our family, our community, all those things. I don't want to get into a psychological
Right.
conversation, but
Right.
we're not responsible for our beliefs, but we are responsible to maintain those once we recognize them.
Wow.
So affirmation is a powerful way to rewrite the tape, right?
And,
Whatever
and we
follows I am follows you. So if you've got a list of 5, 10 affirmations every single day, I am peaceful, I am wealthy, I am
there you go.
happy, I am content. Like, you can really override what's been driving you, the self-doubt, the limiting beliefs.
Sure. Right.
So then visualization. I mean, so I give a couple of exercises, a few assessments where people can ask honestly answer these questions about themselves, and then begin to work to change what they don't like.
Wow. Wow. That's you know what this book sounds like it's pretty heavy, and then you have some activities to really draw some things out. You know, this is a must read. I started reading the book. I haven't finished it, but it is definitely a piece that our readers we definitely want to recommend that they get. Now, where can they find this book?
So that book is on Amazon, and it's been reduced. I think it's like $8.99 now,
Okay.
something like that.
Okay.
And I
Okay.
may be wrong on the price, but I still have a few copies myself.
Okay.
I can get them to you, man. If somebody just absolutely has to have it, uh,
Yeah. Well, I'm sure
I would love.
after hearing what you have just described, we're going to have some people who are going to want to get a copy, and we want to direct them to Amazon if at all possible. But again, if you have some for sale on hand, we can do that too.
Sure.
Let's
Amazon's
move.
easy though.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Let's move to your second book. So the second book. So talk a little bit before we show the cover. Talk a little bit about how the first book was a bridge for you writing the second book.
So the first book allowed me to be to feel kind of good about myself, right? Like,
Okay. Okay.
so in other words, a lot of what I wrote, I had been practicing for years before it
Okay.
finally got to a book. And so I felt pretty much like, yeah, I get to be the teacher here. I get to share my experience and wisdom. But then what it also did, as often writing does, is it also exposed in me some area and opportunity for growth.
Sure. Right.
And so one of those areas that I realized I had completely overlooked, it was the number of people I held prisoner in my heart and mind,
Wow.
the
Wow.
number
Talk
of
about
people that
that.
I hadn't
Yeah.
forgiven,
Wow.
and that piece was going to block all of the abundance. And when I talk about grow rich, I am not just talking about money. That's the last thing I'm talking about.
Right.
Money comes easy and every day. That's not a thing. But money without any peace, money without any contentment, money without health means nothing. So,
Right.
but I knew that the abundance that truly is available to me and that my Father has for me. And when I say Father, I mean my heavenly Father.
Right.
That abundance is locked in my own heart with the people with whom I had not been able to let go of their offense to me.
Right.
And
Wow.
so I thought, okay, here's the second iteration of growing rich, and that is forgiving. Because so often we wait for a reason, an incentive to forgive, an apology, what
Right.
have you. And just in so many cases, there's not going to be an apology. And so having to understand that the the reasoning behind apologizing has nothing to do with the object of your apology.
Sure.
It has to do with the subject of your apology, and that is you.
Right.
And that, and I do a lot in this book to kind of touch on ego and
Mm-hmm.
all the reasons why we hold on to things that, while we think we're holding on to it, is actually dragging us, right?
Exactly.
Let
Exactly.
it, let go of
Exactly.
the drag by it, And I can't tell you how many times I've run into somebody and they got a certain temperament, a
Mm-hmm.
personality trait. And if you talk to them long enough, they'll tell you, 22 years ago, so
Oh
and
yeah.
so did this to me, and
Yeah. Still holding on to it.
holding on to it. And
Still
it's not,
holding on to it.
it went from a mood to a temperament to a personality trait to who they are.
Yeah.
And I had in the book, the very first chapter, I talk about my experience where my mother was shot by her husband
Mm-hmm.
my freshman year at Indiana State. And so we're talking about 1989.
Right.
And, you fast forward, you know, uh, 2015, 2016, I still hate this man,
Right.
and want to kill him.
Right.
That was that. And so while he spent most of that time in prison, I think he was released in, like, I don't know, 2010 or whatever.
Right.
He spent about 20 years in prison. I was in prison that whole time as well.
Oh wow. In your
And
mind. In your
in my
mind.
and
In your
heart,
mind.
and so, bruh, being there in my mind and heart meant my body was also there. But
Right.
guess what? That meant my wife was there. That meant my children was there. That meant my
Wow.
money was in prison. That meant my
Mm-hmm.
health was in prison. Like, understanding that the only person impacted by my feelings toward this man was me.
Wow.
Even my mother had moved on in many ways where I couldn't
Right.
have. And you listen to this, you probably can understand. You got one mama. And rather than just focusing on the fact she was still here, there's some damage was done, but she's still here today. My
Right.
mom will be, 70 soon. So, just it was tough. But man, letting go of that, like really letting go of that, has allowed me to let go of so many other things. And now, I mean, nothing sticks. I'm telling you.
Right. Right.
Real talk, man. I don't have a problem with the white man, with the green
Right.
man, with
Right.
with politics, with none of it, right? Like, I am focused and want everybody I know and love to be focused on how do I contribute, how do I make life better for myself and for others,
Right.
rather than focusing on, frankly, what you can't change, and you can't change other people.
That's right. That's right.
So anyway, that's the journey.
No, that's good. No,
Brought that book around, bro.
that is good. And so there, some of our listeners have hurts and pains. They've been hurt by a family member. They have feel slighted. They don't. They're harboring negative energy and feelings. What do you? What is your word to them to let it go?
Wow. So the first thing I would say is really acknowledge it. I mean, that's the hardest part, to be honest about it with yourself. That this thing has hurt me. This thing has broken me. It has stunted my growth and development. Just be honest about it. And then second, really visualize yourself in a prison. Like, unforgiveness, it sounds like I'm trying to rub salt in the wound, but I just want you to see this how I saw it.
Right.
Unforgiveness is not like a prison. Unforgiveness is prison.
Wow.
The only difference is that you sentence yourself and you can set yourself free at any given time.
Wow.
Otherwise, it is a prison. You are isolated from the people you love, even if you're in the same room with them. You are limited in where you can go and what you can do, even if you have full reign, because your
Wow.
head and heart are locked into negativity and what has happened to you, and you become content with being incontent.
Mm.
So you are
Wow.
in prison. You are in prison. And then the final thing I will say about that, bro, is that, and this is very hard to do. It's easy to say. Just know I've been practicing it a long time, and I challenge you to practice it. And that is, if you truly accept that all things work together for your good, that
Hmm.
everything happens for a reason,
That's it.
and everything happens how it's supposed to happen, no matter how it feels in the moment. If you truly say you believe that, then you begin to view life as happening for you and not to you. And when
Wow.
you become the master of your soul, truly the master of your soul,
Mm-hmm.
you say that these things are happening for me. Wait a minute, a flat tire happening for me. I don't know
Yeah.
why, but it's happening for me. This
Right.
person did that to me. No, they did it for you. That's a very difficult place to arrive at. And I even have days where I don't get there immediately. But I
Sure.
will
Sure.
eventually, before I lay my face down on the pillow, I will get to that place where I don't know how, I don't know why, I don't know when, but somehow this is happening for me, not to me. And
Wow.
that makes me no longer a victim in my life, but again, the captain and the master. And in becoming that, then all of a sudden, I am choosing which way I go versus settling for where I end up.
Wow. Those are some heavy words, man. And you know what? Somebody's gonna go and reach out to a family member, and that's what we want. Again, that's what this show is about. We're trying to transform the minds and the hearts of people, through the stories of our guests. And I think that you've done that. Last thing before we get out of here, somebody wants to write a book. They've talked about it. They've expressed to other people that they want to do it, but they just can't get going, me included. I need to get my book going. But our listening audience, what do you tell them? And you expressed that you were in a place where you talked about it and you said you were going to do it, but it didn't happen. And then you talked about leaving that legacy. But if someone is on the brink, what do you tell them in terms of getting started with writing that book?
Man, I'm glad you asked, because I really want to demystify it. And what I'm about to say is going to sound so rudimentary and elementary, but it is really what I did.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a time. So let me back up a bit. What typically happens is when you think about writing a book, you think about the enormity of the book,
Yes.
right? But the truth is, books happen a chapter at a time. Within that chapter, a paragraph at a time, page at a time. Within those pages, a paragraph at a time, you get it. So the first thing was the getting past the enormity. I had this title. I knew exactly what I wanted to talk about. So that part I had.
Right.
And so often people say, "Ah, forget the title. Just start writing. It'll come to you." Yeah, that works, I guess, but sometimes you never get to that, right?
Hmm.
So I had an idea that I wanted to convey. And then when I had that idea, I came up with 10 points I wanted to make about that idea.
Okay.
And those 10 points became my 10 chapters.
Wow. Got you.
And then with those 10 points, I did an outline of what do I want to say about these 10 points. And I wrote each chapter based on my own outline. I still have the outline for the first book. So I literally built an outline and I wrote one chapter at a time, but I already knew what I wanted to write. I knew I wanted my first book to be, I did the research to see what's a good size book.
Right.
And the really big books kind of people, the attention span has been adjusted as a result of technology. I'll just say it like that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, you need to keep your books 120 pages or less. Let it be something they can read and digest and reread. And so I knew what I wanted to end up with. And I knew that if I had 10 chapters, and then I end up adding maybe one or two more and once I
Hmm.
got finished with it. But this is a true story. I told you it took me 15 years to finally decide it.
Hmm.
I started writing the book August 1st, 2017. I was finished with the book November 17th, significant date.
It sure is.
I was finished with the book November 17th, 2017. So
Wow.
August, September, October, half of November.
Wow.
15 years to decide to do it, 3.5 months to get it done.
Wow. Wow. That's huge.
And
That's
yeah,
huge. That's huge. That's huge. And again, thank you for that inspiration. Somebody again is thinking about it, and now you've just given them the recipe for success. I'm gonna. This is kind of off the grid, but I'm gonna propose that you start a consulting business to help people to get started with writing their book. So if you haven't thought about this, I mean, based on everything you've said today, in my opinion, this would be a viable endeavor to pursue. There are people out there who don't know where to start, but to be able to contact the James officer and say, hey, I can sit down and do a consultation. And so we're going to bring you back on the show because
Well,
because
thank you,
because I
man.
but when you come back, you need to have that that consulting business and a website and all that together because again, our followership is massive and people will see this and there are people I'm sure who are ready to write that book but need the guidance that you have just that you've just provided.
Excellent. Excellent.
Thanks again for joining us on Super Speak Sundays, man. This has been a great conversation. You know, I mean, I'm not surprised at all. I knew what I would be getting, and probably, and I got a lot more during our conversation. So again, thank you so much for being here today.
Man, I'm incredibly humbled. Thank you. I'm just honored to be a part of your community, man. And uh, pray that something I've said will definitely uplift the community. So thank you.
No doubt. We want to remind our audience two books that you need to go to Amazon and pick up. Keep Calm and Grow Rich, a guide to choosing your destiny. And book number 2 from James Officer was Forgive and Grow Rich. There will be no apology. Until next time, my friend, we'll see you soon.
All right, man. Thank you so much. Peace and blessings.
Thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, you've heard him. You've heard Mr. Officer give us, he gave us some good information today. I mean, some things for us to really, really think about. You know, if you are harboring feelings against a family member or you're feeling, that you've been slighted, hey, let it go. Let it go. It's life is too short. People are passing away every day and it's really not worth it. But again, if you choose to harbor those feelings, understand that you are imprisoning yourself. You're not hurting the other person. You're hurting you and your offspring. If you want to write a book, let's get started right away. Mr. Officer gave us some tools, and then he's going to also start a business. I'm putting this on. I'm speaking into existence right now. He's going to start a consulting business, and we're going to bring him back to see how things have progressed. Again, you have joined us for another episode of Super Speak Sundays, and I'm your host, James the Orator. Until next time, peace.